way back. This is probably, I think, 700 BC. Is that right? Something like that. Way back, there was a king who's a very interesting king, Nebuchadnezzar. You know, that's his name, Nebuchadnezzar. We know him a lot of times by Nebuchadnezzar. Nebuchadnezzar. And this king, oh, I love his story. In my opinion, by the way, he may have literally made it into heaven, but he was way over here in the beginning. He did not know God. Like, he was way over here, and then through story after story through the book of Daniel, as he got to know the Hebrew children of the Israelites, the people of God, he seemed to change. He got softer and softer, and he glorified God in the end. And by the way, he worshipped all sorts of gods in Babylon. And so, oh, I love this story. Now, this I could take an hour or two, and you go, Gordon, would you please get to the point? This is a great story. It's one of the favorites of the children of the Bible. And we don't know who these heroes who were God's kids, God's people, how old they were, but they were young. I'm really pretty strongly certain that they were young. They could have been like these, we're talking about three different, we'll call them boys, young men, three boys, three children who were really like probably in the teens or maybe even as young as 10 to 13, 11 to 13. So 17 to 18 could have been, or something like that. But here's where the location was, where they were. They got taken out of Israel, here, this land. And they were exiled. They were kicked out of their land and taken over by this king that I mentioned. Nebuchadnezzar is what it is, Nebuchadnezzar. And this is a river Jordan, and then you have the sea down here. That's something like this is what it looks like. And so what happened is they were taken way over here. They became slaves. And by the way, God didn't really want them to go there, but they kept rebelling as a nation against God. They were worshiping other gods and all that. Hundreds of years of warnings, and finally said, I'm up to my neck on this. That's it. And then he had them taken and exiled. And this great king, was very powerful, had great armies and all. And they came to the area that is titled Babylon or Babylon. Looks like baby right here, Babylon. And so this whole area, and you have these rivers that come up here, Euphrates and Tigris and all. So, okay, so they got kicked out over here, and these are where these guys are. Let's put an X rate, something like that. We're not sure exactly where they were. And then there's, long story short, it's book of Daniel, chapter 3. Chapter 1 is awesome. Chapter 2, the whole book is 12 chapters in Daniel. Daniel is what it is. So here we go. And by the way, that name Daniel went over there. His name was, do you remember the Dan, you know? One of the tribe's patriarchs, one of the sons of Judah. See, a lot of them named their names after these guys. And so what happened is, long story short, Nebuchadnezzar was convinced, or he in his pride, they set up a big statue, 90 feet tall probably or something, and 9 feet wide or 10 feet wide, really big statue. And maybe it wasn't 90 feet. Anyway, there was a huge statue of himself. It's an image of himself. And all his captains and all this said, and I may not all of them, Daniel in the chapter before, it's chapter 2, God used Daniel to raise him up through Nebuchadnezzar, raise him up in a higher rank. So he wasn't commanded to do what these other guys were. So he's probably like, this isn't good, you guys, but they didn't listen to him. The Bible's silent about that. Like, where's Daniel? Of course, Daniel might have left. Maybe he was commissioned by Nebuchadnezzar, the king, to go and do something in some other country or something. I don't know. But anyway, so these slave boys, these servants of this foreign nation that they were under, everybody, not just them, but the whole country of Babylon was told to bow their knee to this image. They said, when you hear music and there's like horns and lyres, like harp-like things, and trumpet, I already said horns, trumpets. I have a horn, by the way, that maybe it looked like this. Hold on just for a second. Let me get it really quickly. Here it is. Yay! Do you see it right here? This is one cool looking horn, isn't it? So they said when the horns are blown and when the flutes and the all the musical instruments are played here. I don't know if you can see this. I'll just point it right at you, like this. This is a long horn. When the trumpet is played and all the music starts, everyone's supposed to bow down, like really get prostrate down to the ground and bow yourself to this image. Well, these Hebrew servants of God, these Hebrew children, these maybe 10 to 13-year-olds, these young people, they serve God. They're not going to bow to some image put up there, some idol type worship or something. So the story goes, you know, this is one of these things, by the way, like when I go into heaven, I like to sit down in the big, I'm sort of teasing, but in another way I'm not, I'm serious. I love to go into some movie theater of heaven, like with heavenly popcorn. Boy, is that going to taste good. Whatever. And just kind of lean back like this and, God, can you replay this story? I want to see it. And he starts the video and film, and like the sky, a part of the sky could be the whole screen or something. And there they are. And then I'll say, these three guys are named Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego. It's Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego. Okay, so these guys are here. Come here, sit down. Tell me about it, what it was like. Cool story. It really happened. I don't believe it's a fable or anything. I mean, I just don't believe it. I believe this really actually happened. Why shouldn't it? You know, people, you know, trying to attack the Bible. Anyway, so here's what happened. Here's what happened. Just picture this. So when the music started, they're out there, all these thousands or whatever crowds. Everyone went down. You see these three guys standing there. That's so cool. The courage of these guys. And I forgot to mention, it's very important. They knew, the whole group, that anybody who didn't bow down, they're going to be killed. They're not going to be killed by cutting off their heads either. It's actually worse. How can it be worse than that? They're going to be thrown into a furnace. And they're going to light up the fires in this furnace, like burning wood or something, and they're going to burn alive. They're not going to even kill them in and put them in and roast them. They were going to be thrown into the fire. It's one of the worst, executions, deaths a person can go through. How horrible. Well, the music started playing. I love this. Just picture this. I could just feel it. I don't know, maybe they were nervous or something, like, okay, Lord, here we are. Or maybe they just stood there like, nah, nothing to be nervous about. Anyway, this is what happened. It's so long of a story, I'll try and compact it. You could read it, Daniel 3. And then, and so everyone went down and they just stood there. Nebuchadnezzar was told by some of the officials, look at those guys back there. And they kind of inquired, like, who are they? So they told him, Nebuchadnezzar, didn't you say that you're supposed to bow down once the music starts? Yeah, I said that. 3 Hebrew children, these are people of the Hebrew children from the Israelite, the nation of Jews, they're not bowing down. So he had him called up. He was kind of upset about that. Are you kidding me? Bring him up here. And then he went over it. He said, didn't I say that, didn't we tell you, to bow down? He's got to kind of give him a chance to recant, to do it this time. Okay, we're going to give you a chance. We're going to play the music. And also, didn't I say do that? And I love, it's one of my favorite parts of the Bible, what they said. And I'm just going to read it here. So get it word for word. It says, O Nebuchadnezzar, we do not need to defend ourselves before you in this matter. We're not going to have to be careful about this. We're not worried about it. We're just going to tell you it like it is. And they did. They said, if we are thrown into the blazing furnace, that hot furnace, the God, Yahweh, who we serve, is able to save us from it. Wow, think about that. They believed in God. They believed in his ability. Do you believe God can protect you and save you from anything he doesn't want you to die in? An accident of car, or going on a plane, or going through tough times in your life? He can be your safety. He can be your refuge. He can be your savior. He can actually protect you. He can be your fortress, refuge, safety place. If we are thrown in the burning furnace, the God we serve. See, they were serving God. They knew God. Do you serve God? Do you know God? Is able to save us from it. And he will save us. He will rescue us from your hand, O king. So they said God's going to deliver us from that. Okay, they believe that God's going to deliver them. That's faith. That's faith, bro. It's good stuff. And then it says, but even if he doesn't, I love what this version says. I like the King James versions. I'm just going to take a different version of the Bible real quick. It's so cool. I love this one. They said, if it be so, our God whom we serve is able. Then it says, but if not, be it known unto thee, O king. Be it known unto you, O king. It's my favorite part of this. Like, all right, he's able to save us, but if not, in other words, he's not going to save us. He chooses not to. Be it known unto you, O king, we will not bow down and serve your gods. What did he say? That we will not serve your gods, nor worship the golden image which you have set up. I just love that. That rings sweet in my ears. And guess whose ears it also rang sweet in? The God above, the Father. They heard that. Jesus and the Father heard that. Love it. Rang sweet in their ears. Then it says, then was Nebuchadnezzar full of fury. You know, ever you've seen these cartoons and the pictures where steam comes out of their ears and their face turns red or dark red or dark purple and all sorts of colors? Nebuchadnezzar had a temper. This isn't the only time he got mad. He was upset. He was hot in temper. And so he was so mad that not only he said, you're going into that fire, you know, like that, but he said, I want the fire turned up 7 times hotter, and then you're going to throw them in there. And by the way, they did do that. They threw them in there, and it was so hot, and the flames people were throwing them in, they got caught on fire, and they died from it. It slew them. It killed them. That's how hot that thing was. They got thrown in and they fell. They bound them up, by the way. I forgot to say that, so they wouldn't fight or anything, like handcuffs with ropes. So they bound them, threw them in there. Not long, just shortly after that, Nebuchadnezzar was looking in there. And, oh, I love how it says this. Let me just, suddenly, he was astonished. It says, see if I can find it. He leaped to his feet in amazement. He was like, what? You know why? He asked his advisors, wasn't it 3 men that we put in there? Then you tie them up and throw into the furnace? 3. They replied, certainly, O king. He said, look, I see 4 men walking around in the fire, unbound and unharmed. The fire burned the ropes off of them, and they're not harmed. Okay, and the 4th looks like the son of God's, or son of God, either one. So he saw 4. They threw 3. So he called them out, like, hey guys, come out. So they walked out, and the Bible says there was no fire evidence, no evidence of fire. Their clothes weren't burned. Their hair wasn't burned. Nothing was burned. As a matter of fact, you couldn't even see anything. You couldn't smell heat from them. If you get something on fire, you could smell it. Nothing. As they walked in, they walked out, nothing happened. And they said, I mean, he was just so touched and moved by that. Let's end this story to see what happened. Yeah, there it is. Come out, Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego. Okay, Shadrach, they came out, and then he said, he immediately said, praise be to the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who has sent his angel. It was God. It was Jesus, in my opinion. It was literally Jesus. Could have been an angel, but I think it was Jesus who was in there to rescue his servants. And they trusted in him and defied my command, the king's command, and were willing to give up their lives rather than serve or worship any God except their God. Therefore, I decree that the people of any nation and language who say anything against the God of these guys will be cut into pieces and their houses be turned into piles of rubble, for no other God can save in this way. And he promoted them. In other words, it says, I love this guy, actually. He was wrong. He didn't know the truth about God. He started finding out about this God. And immediately he recognized that this God is above the other gods that we're serving. No God can do that. And he honored him. So it was a step closer to God. All right, let's glean or talk about a few things that are so wonderful about that. I bet you could come up with some lessons from this. I can't hear you, so you'll have to hear me. I'd love to hear from you. What do you think about this story? Isn't it marvelous? Oh my goodness, the implications, it's powerful. So what happened is, one, they served God and they knew God. The Bible says in the book of Daniel, the people who know God will be strong and do exploits. So I love that. The people who know their God will be strong and do exploits. I think it's in the book of Daniel, but anyway, you'll do great things. When you know God and serve him, God can use you for great things. Number two, miracles can happen. I'm serious. Today, miracles can happen. There's tons of them happening nowadays. That you can see God do supernatural stuff. Three, they chose, even though they may have had some fear or they may realize we could die in this, even though they were believing God for deliverance, they said, if not, if he doesn't deliver us, he will rescue you out of your hand. But if not, we're good. We'll die and we'll be with God in heaven. They win. It's a win-win situation. You win on earth, and you win in heaven. You win heaven too. You get heaven. So they decided to stand up and stand against the worldly evils around them. They decided they're not going to go with the flow of the world. Everybody else bowed down. God wasn't pleased. And that's kind of like what you live in nowadays and I live in. We live in a world that most people are not loving God. They don't serve God, and they serve their own gods, whatever it is. They serve other things, their lives, their families, this, money, power, celebrities, stars, athletes, all that. They're into everything else except for God. Okay, and they put him first. And so that's why these guys definitely deserve this award again. They're number one children because they made Jesus Christ or God number one. So here, I'm trying to get this in my hand, this necklace. There, I hope that works. There, something like that. See, they really, really knew God, and they were number one kids to follow. Great examples. Don't be pressured. There was pressure there. Probably people were bound down. What are you doing? Get down, you're going to die, you're going to die. They're trying to pressure them. And they were trying to pressure them. The leaders and all that were trying to pressure them into worshiping a false idol, an image. So you're gonna have times that you're gonna be tested. You're gonna be pressured to do something wrong in your classroom or wherever you are in your neighborhood or whoever it is, even your family members that don't know God. They're gonna try and get you to do something wrong. You gotta be like Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego. Good children of the Bible.